The sun was just starting to rise over the mountains. Nashota sat outside his small dwelling, watching the orange light spread across the sky. He did this every morning now. He sat in the same spot where his wife used to grind corn and prepare their morning meal. But she was not here anymore. She had been gone for 6 months. Nashota was a strong man. He was 32 years old and one of the best hunters in his Apache tribe. Other men respected him. They asked for his advice when tracking deer through the mountains. They trusted his wisdom during tribal meetings. But none of that seemed to matter anymore. His wife was dead and he felt empty inside. The sound of footsteps made him look up. His son Casa walked out of the dwelling. The boy was 8 years old, small for his age with dark eyes that used to sparkle with joy. Now those eyes looked sad and distant. Casa said nothing. He just sat down next to his father and stared at the ground. "Did you sleep well?" Nashota asked. Casa shrugged. He did not look at his father. Nashota sighed. He did not know what to say. He did not know how to reach his son anymore. They both missed the same person, but they could not seem to share their sadness with each other. It was like a wall stood between them. A woman's voice called out from nearby. "Nashota, Casa, come and eat." It was Ayana, Nashota's younger sister. She had been helping take care of Casa since his mother died. Ayana was a strong woman with quick hands and an even quicker tongue. She spoke her mind even when others did not want to hear it. This made some people uncomfortable, but Nashota was grateful for her help. Nashota and Casa walked to where Ayana had prepared food. She had made a simple meal of corn cakes and roasted rabbit. Other families were waking up around them. The Apache village was coming to life. Children ran between the dwellings, laughing and playing. Women started their daily work. Men gathered their tools and weapons for the day's tasks. Casa ate slowly, taking small bites. He barely touched his food. Ayana watched him with worried eyes. She looked at Nashota and shook her head. "The boy is not eating enough," she said quietly. "He is getting thinner." "I know," Nashota replied. "It has been 6 months," Ayana said. 6 months since my sister-in-law passed. The boy needs more than an aunt. He needs a mother." Nashota's jaw tightened. "He has me. You are his father, yes, but you are gone hunting most days. When you are here, you sit outside staring at nothing." Ayana's voice was firm but not unkind. "I do what I can, but I have my own children to care for. Casa needs someone who can be there for him. Teach him the things his mother would have taught him." Nashota knew she was right, but he did not want to hear it. The thought of another woman taking his wife's place felt wrong, disrespectful, like he was trying to erase her memory. "I am not ready," he said quietly. Ayana reached out and touched his arm. "I know, but this is not about you. It is about him." She nodded toward Casa, who was now pushing his food around with his fingers, not eating at all. That evening, there was a tribal gathering. The whole village came together in the central area. A fire burned in the middle, sending sparks up into the darkening sky. The tribal leader, Liwanu, sat on a raised platform. He was an old man with gray hair and deep lines in his face. He had led their people for many years. The gathering was about practical matters. They discussed where to hunt, how to prepare for the coming winter, and whether they needed to move their camp to find better resources. Nashota sat with the other men, listening but not really hearing. His mind wandered. Then Liwanu said something that caught his attention. "Nashota, stand up," the old leader said. Nashota stood, confused. All eyes in the village turned to him. "You have been alone for 6 months now," Liwanu said. His voice was not harsh, but it was serious. "Your wife was a good woman. We all miss her, but life continues. Your son needs guidance. He needs the touch of a mother." Nashota felt his face grow hot. He did not like being discussed in front of everyone. "I am raising my son," he said. "You are trying," Liwanu agreed. "But a boy needs balance. He needs both father and mother. It is our way." The old man paused. "There are good women in our tribe. Women who would be honored to join your family. You should consider this." Murmurs of agreement came from the crowd. Several women glanced at Nashota, then quickly looked away. He knew some of them were unmarried. Others were widows like him. They would be suitable matches by tribal standards, but the thought made him feel sick. "I will think about it," Nashota said stiffly. "Do not think too long." Liwanu replied. "Winter is coming. A family needs to be whole." The gathering continued, but Nashota barely listened. When it finally ended, he walked away quickly, wanting to be alone. But Ayana followed him. "Brother, wait," she called. He stopped but did not turn around. "I know this is hard," she said, coming to stand beside him. "But Liwanu is right. Kasa is struggling. He does not talk to other children anymore. He does not play. He just sits quietly like a little shadow. This is not healthy. What do you want me to do?" Nashoda asked, frustration in his voice. "Marry someone I do not love just to make everyone happy?" "Love can grow," Ayana said. "Our mother and father did not love each other at first. It was an arranged match. But they grew to care for each other deeply. You know this." Nashoda was quiet. He did know this. Many marriages in their tribe started as practical arrangements. Love was not always the first consideration. Survival was. Family was. The good of the tribe was. "I cannot forget her," he finally said, his voice breaking slightly. "No one is asking you to forget," Ayana said gently, "but you must move forward. For Case's sake." They stood in silence for a moment. Then Ayana said something unusual. "What if Kasa had a say in this?" Nashoda turned to look at her. "What do you mean?" "What if he could choose? What if he could meet the women and decide who he feels comfortable with?" Ayana spoke carefully, as if testing out an idea. "It is not traditional, but then again we live in changing times. The boy has lost his mother. Maybe he should have a voice in who might fill that empty place." Nashoda considered this. It was strange. Children did not usually have such power in tribal decisions, but there was something appealing about it. If Kasa felt comfortable with someone, maybe the transition would be easier. Maybe his son would start to heal. "The elders would never agree to this," Nashoda said. "You do not know that," Ayana replied. "Some of the old stories speak of children having wisdom that adults overlook. There is a tradition, very old, where a child's spirit could guide important decisions. You could present it that way." Nashoda looked back toward the village. He could see Kasa sitting alone near their dwelling, drawing patterns in the dirt with a stick. The boy looked so small, so sad. "I will think about it," Nashoda said again. Over the next few days, Nashoda did think about it. He thought about it while hunting. He thought about it while repairing his weapons. He thought about it when he watched Kasa pick at his food or sit alone while other children played. One morning, he saw something that made up his mind. A group of boys were playing a game with a ball made of leather. They were laughing and shouting, running back and forth. Kasa stood at the edge of the group, watching. One of the boys kicked the ball toward Kasa. It rolled right to his feet. "Kick it back," the boy called. "Come play with us." But Kasa just stood there. He looked at the ball, then at the boys, then down at his feet. After a long moment, he kicked the ball weakly back toward them and walked away. The other boys shrugged and continued their game. Nashoda felt something break inside his chest. His son was disappearing. The happy, energetic child was fading away, becoming a ghost. Something had to change. That evening, Nashoda went to see Liwanu. The old leader was sitting outside his dwelling, smoking a pipe and watching the sunset. "May I speak with you?" Nashoda asked. "Of course. Sit." Liwanu gestured to a spot beside him. Nashoda sat. For a moment he did not know how to begin. Then he simply spoke from his heart. "You were right at the gathering," he said. "Kasa needs more than I am giving him. He needs a mother figure. I have been selfish, holding on to my grief." Liwanu nodded slowly. "It is not easy to move forward after loss. But I am glad you see the necessity. I want to honor an old tradition," Nashoda continued. "I want to let my son choose." Liwanu raised his eyebrows. "Choose?" "Yes, let the eligible women meet with him. Let him spend time with them. His spirit will know who is right. Children see things we adults miss. Their hearts are not clouded by politics or tradition." Nashoda spoke with growing confidence. In the old stories, children were sometimes seen as having special wisdom. Their connection to the spirit world was stronger. The old leader was quiet for a long time. He puffed on his pipe, thinking, "This is unusual," he finally said. "Yes, some will not like it. I know. But," Liwanu looked at Nashoda with sharp eyes, "there is wisdom in it. The child has suffered great loss. Perhaps his spirit does know what he needs." He nodded slowly. "Very well. I will announce your decision at the next gathering. The women who wish to be considered may present themselves to your son. But Nashoda, you must be prepared to honor his choice, whatever it may be." "I will," Nashoda promised. 3 days later, another gathering was held. When Liwanu announced Nashota's plan, there was immediate reaction. Some people nodded in approval. 3 months had passed since Nashota made his announcement. During that time, the 4 women had each spent time with Kasa. They brought him small gifts. They told him stories. They tried to make him smile. But nothing seemed to work. Halona brought him a wooden toy she had carved. Kasa accepted it politely but never played with it. Muna showed him different plants and taught him their healing properties. Kasa listened quietly but asked no questions. Juliana demonstrated how to weave a basket, encouraging him to try. He made a few clumsy attempts and then stopped. Kai cooked special foods for him, sweet treats made with honey. He ate a little to be polite, but his eyes remained dull. Nashota watched all of this from a distance. He felt frustrated and helpless. Each woman was trying her best. Each one would have been a good mother. But his son showed no interest in any of them. Ayana noticed too. "The boy is being polite," she told her brother one evening. "But his heart is not opening to them." "What should I do?" Nashota asked. "I promised the elders this would work. You cannot force the child's heart," Ayana said. "Maybe he just needs more time." But Nashota wondered if time was the real problem. Maybe Kasa simply was not ready for a new mother. Maybe this whole idea had been a mistake. Then something happened that changed everything. A raiding party returned to the village. They had been gone for 2 weeks, traveling far to the east. They came back with supplies they had taken from a white settlement. There were blankets, tools, some bags of grain, and several horses. But they also brought back something else: a prisoner. The woman stumbled as the warriors led her into the village. Her hands were tied in front of her. Her dress was torn and dirty. Her blonde hair hung in tangled strands around her face. She looked terrified. The whole village gathered to see. Some people stared with curiosity. Others looked angry. There was always debate about what to do with white prisoners. Some said they should be traded for supplies. Others said they should be put to work. A few voices always argued they should be killed as revenge for what whites had done to Apache people. Nashota stood with the other men, looking at the prisoner. She was younger than he expected, maybe around his age. Despite the dirt and fear, he could see she was trying to stand tall, trying to maintain dignity even though she was clearly terrified. Dakota, the warrior who had led the raiding party, spoke to the crowd. "We found her at a small settlement. She was teaching white children in a school building. She did not run. She tried to protect the children." There was grudging respect in his voice, though his face remained hard. "The children escaped. We took her instead. What is your name?" Liwanu asked the woman in English. Many Apache spoke at least some English, learned from traders and conflicts over the years. The woman lifted her chin. Sarah Coleman." Her voice shook, but she spoke clearly. "Why do you speak?" Dakota snapped. "No one gave you permission," but Liwanu held up his hand. "Let her speak." "Sarah Coleman, why were you in that place?" "I am a teacher," Sarah said. "I came from Ohio to teach children to read and write. I have been there for 1 year." "You teach white children to hate Apache," someone in the crowd shouted. "No," Sarah said quickly. "I teach them reading and mathematics. I do not teach hate," the crowd murmured. They did not believe her. Why would they? They had seen too much violence from white settlers. Too many broken treaties. Too many lies. Liwanu considered the prisoner. "You will work," he finally decided. "You will help the women with their tasks. We will decide your fate later." Sarah nodded. What choice did she have? They untied her hands and assigned her to work with a group of women. She would help prepare food, gather water, and do other daily chores. 2 warriors would watch her to make sure she did not try to escape. Nashota went back to his dwelling thinking about the prisoner. He felt conflicted. Part of him understood the anger his people felt toward whites. They had good reasons. But another part of him saw only a frightened woman far from home, just as his wife would have been frightened if the situation were reversed. That evening, Kasa was unusually quiet during the meal. Even more quiet than usual. He kept glancing toward where Sarah sat with the women, eating a small portion of food they had given her. "What are you looking at?" Ayana asked the boy. "The yellow-haired woman," Kasa said softly. "She looks sad." "She is a prisoner," Ayana replied. "Of course she is sad. Is she bad?" Kasa asked. Nashota and Ayana exchanged glances. How did you explain complicated history to a child? Not all whites are bad, Nashota said carefully. And not all whites are good. They are like us. Some are honorable. Some are not. But her people have done much harm to our people. That is why there is anger. Casa nodded slowly, but he kept watching Sarah. Over the next 2 weeks, something strange began to happen. Whenever Casa was near where the women worked, he found ways to be close to Sarah. Not too close, just nearby. He would sit and draw in the dirt while the women prepared food. He would carry water from the stream when Sarah was also carrying water. Nashota noticed. So did Ayana. So did others in the tribe. The boy is curious about the prisoner, Ayana said with concern. Maybe we should keep him away from her. But Nashota was not sure. His son had shown more life in the past 2 weeks than he had in months. There was something in Casa's eyes when he watched Sarah. Not just curiosity. Something else. One afternoon, Casa was helping gather firewood. He was carrying a large bundle, too large for a boy his size. He stumbled and the wood scattered. As he bent to pick it up, a sharp branch scraped across his hand. Blood immediately welled up from the cut. Casa cried out in pain. Sarah was working nearby, scraping hides. She heard his cry and looked up. For just a moment she hesitated. She was a prisoner. She was not supposed to interact with the children. But then her instincts as a teacher, as someone who cared for children, took over. She quickly stood and went to Casa. "Let me see," she said gently in English. Kneeling beside him, Casa looked up at her with wide, surprised eyes. He held out his bleeding hand. Sarah examined the cut. It was not deep, but it was dirty. She needed to clean it. She looked around and saw a water vessel nearby. She tore a strip of cloth from her already tattered dress and dipped it in water. Gently, carefully, she cleaned the blood from Casa's hand. "It is not too bad," she said softly, "but we must keep it clean so it does not become sick. Do you understand?" Casa nodded. He did not pull his hand away. He watched her face as she worked. Several people were watching now, including Nashota. He had been gathering wood nearby and had seen everything. He walked over. "Thank you," he said to Sarah in English. His tone was neutral, not warm but not harsh either. Sarah looked up at him. This was Casa's father. She had learned this over the past weeks by watching and listening. "He should keep it clean," she said. "And watch for redness or swelling. You know healing?" Nashota asked. "A little," Sarah replied. "I had to learn basic first aid when teaching. Children get hurt sometimes." Nashota studied her face. Then he looked at his son. Casa was still holding his hand out to Sarah, not frightened at all. "Come, Casa," Nashota said. "Let Aunt Ayana bandage that properly." As they walked away, Casa looked back at Sarah. She gave him a small, sad smile. That night, Nashota could not sleep. He kept thinking about the way his son had looked at the white prisoner. There had been trust in that look. Trust Casa had not shown to anyone in months, not even his own aunt. The next morning, Nashota sought out Liwanu. "I need to speak with you about my son," he said. The old leader nodded. "I have noticed him watching the prisoner." "Yes, he seems drawn to her." "That is concerning," Liwanu said. "The boy should not become attached to someone who may not stay with us." "I know, but he has not shown this kind of response to any of the women from our tribe. He is polite to them, but distant. With her there is something different." Liwanu frowned. "What are you suggesting?" Nashota took a deep breath. "I am not sure yet, but I promised Casa he could choose. I said his spirit would know what was right. What if his spirit is telling him something we do not understand?" "You cannot be serious," Liwanu said sharply. "She is a white prisoner, a temporary captive. You would consider her as a mother to your son?" "I do not know what I am considering," Nashota admitted. "I am simply observing what I see. My son is responding to her in a way he has not responded to anyone since his mother died. This would cause great problems in the tribe," Liwanu warned. "Many would oppose it. Takota already dislikes having her here at all. If you suggested making her part of your family, there would be anger." "I understand, but I made a promise to honor my son's choice. I did not put conditions on that promise." Liwanu was quiet for a long time. Finally he said, "Watch and wait. Do not make any decisions yet. Let us see what develops." Over the following weeks, Casa continued to find ways to be near Sarah. He started bringing her things: a cup of water when she looked thirsty, a piece of fruit when food was distributed. Small gestures, but meaningful. Sarah seemed confused by the attention at first. Then gradually she began to respond. She would smile at him. She would say thank you in her limited Apache words. She was trying to learn the language, listening carefully when people spoke. One day, Casa sat near her while she worked on scraping a hide. He had a stick and was drawing in the dirt, as he often did. The council meeting exploded into chaos. Voices rose in anger, confusion, and disbelief. Dakota jumped to his feet, his face twisted with rage. "This is madness," he shouted. "The boy has been bewitched by the white woman. She has used her devil magic on him." Others joined in. "A white prisoner cannot be Apache," someone called out. "She is our enemy. What about our own women?" Huyana's brother stood, gesturing toward the 4 women who had offered themselves. "You insult them with this choice." Liwanu raised his hand for silence, but it took several minutes for the crowd to quiet down. Even then, angry murmurs continued. Nashoda stood calmly, though his insides churned. "I understand your anger," he said. "This is not what any of us expected. But I made a promise. I said my son could choose, that his spirit would guide him. I did not put conditions on that promise." "I cannot break my word now. Then your word was foolish," Dakota spat. "The boy is 8 years old. He knows nothing of the world. He knows nothing of the evil whites have done to our people. My own father was killed by white soldiers. My uncle was killed. You would bring one of them into your family? Into our tribe?" Nashoda met Dakota's angry gaze. "Not all whites killed your father. This woman is a teacher. She cares for children. She has done nothing to harm us." "She is one of them," Dakota insisted. "That is enough." Halona stood up. Her voice was quieter than the men's, but carried weight. "I do not understand this choice, but I am hurt by it. I spent time with the boy. I tried to show him kindness. Was it not enough?" There were tears in her eyes. "Are we Apache women not good enough?" Nashoda felt guilt wash over him. "You are all more than good enough. This is not about worth. This is about what my son's heart is telling him. I cannot explain it, but I must honor it." Muna, the healer, spoke next. "Perhaps Dakota is right. Perhaps the woman has some influence over the child we do not understand. She is educated in white ways. Who knows what tricks she might know?" "She has used no tricks," Ayana said, standing to defend her brother. "I have watched her carefully. She simply showed kindness to the boy when he was hurt. That is all. She does not seek his attention. He seeks hers, because she has clouded his mind," Dakota insisted. Liwanu finally spoke, his voice cutting through the arguments. "Enough, this accomplishes nothing." He looked at Nashoda. "You have put us in an impossible situation. Your promise has created a problem that has no good solution." "I know," Nashoda said quietly. "If we allow this, there will be division in the tribe." Liwanu continued. "Many will not accept a white woman among us, especially not in such an important role. But if we forbid it, we break the promise made to a grieving child. We also must decide what this would even mean. The woman is a prisoner. She has no choice in this matter. Would we force her to become mother to a child she does not know?" This brought new murmurs from the crowd. No one had considered Sarah's perspective. "Let us ask her," Ayana suggested. "Bring her here. Let her speak." After some debate, they agreed. Sarah was brought to the council fire. She looked terrified, her eyes wide as she saw all the angry faces staring at her. She did not understand Apache well enough to know what they had been arguing about. Liwanu spoke to her in English. "Sarah Coleman, the boy Casa has chosen you. Do you know what this means?" Sarah looked confused. "Chosen me? Chosen me for what?" "His mother died. He was told to select a new mother from among our women. He has selected you." The color drained from Sarah's face. She looked around wildly as if this might be some cruel joke. "But I am a prisoner. I am not even Apache." "I do not understand, neither do we," Liwanu said dryly. "But this is the situation. The question is, would you accept this role if it were offered to you?" Sarah was quiet for a long moment. Her hands shook. "I do not know your ways. I do not speak your language well. How could I be a mother to an Apache child?" "You could learn," Nashoda said, speaking for the first time directly to her. "If you were willing." Sarah looked at him. This was the father, the man who would be choosing her not as a prisoner but as part of his family. The idea was so strange, so unexpected that she could not process it. "Why?" she asked. "Why would the boy choose me?" "I do not fully understand it myself," Nashoda admitted. "But he says when he is near you, his grief becomes quieter. He trusts you. He has not trusted anyone since his mother passed. Sarah thought about the small boy who had been bringing her water and fruit. She thought about how his eyes had looked that day when she cleaned his cut hand. She had seen something in those eyes, a deep sadness that mirrored her own loss. She too had lost everyone she loved. Her parents had died years ago. She had come west to start fresh, and now she was a prisoner far from any friends. "I would not harm the child," Sarah said carefully. "If he truly wants me to care for him, I would try my best. But many here hate me. How could this work?" "That is exactly the question we are trying to answer," Liwanu said. Dakota stood again. "This is wrong. All of it is wrong. The woman should be sent away or traded. We should not be having this discussion. But we are having it," Liwanu said firmly, "because a promise was made and we are people of honor. We do not break promises lightly, especially promises to children." He paused. "However, Dakota is right that this decision affects the whole tribe. I will not make it alone." He looked around at the gathered people. "We will take time to consider this. The next full moon is in 28 days. By then we must decide. Ashoda, your son, will have until that time to change his mind. Sarah Coleman, you will continue your work as before, but you may spend time with the boy so we can all observe. Is this acceptable?" It was not a perfect solution, but it was something. Nashoda nodded. Sarah, still looking shocked, also nodded. As the council broke up, people gathered in small groups, talking urgently. The tribe was clearly divided. Some thought the whole idea was ridiculous and dangerous. Others were curious about what would happen. A few thought there might be something to honor in a child's innocent choice. Halona approached Nashoda before he could leave. Her eyes were red from crying. "I would have loved your son," she said quietly. "I would have loved him as my own." "I know," Nashoda said, feeling terrible. "You would have been a wonderful mother to him." "Then why am I not enough?" The pain in her voice cut deep. "You are enough. More than enough. But the heart does not always follow logic. I think my son sees something in her that reminds him of his mother's spirit. I cannot explain it better than that." Halona shook her head and walked away. Nashoda felt the weight of guilt settle on his shoulders. The next few weeks were strange for everyone. Sarah was allowed to spend time with Kesa under watchful eyes. At first it was awkward. Sarah did not know what to say or do. She would sit near him while he drew in the dirt, occasionally asking questions in her broken Apache. "What is this word?" she would ask, pointing to things. Kasa would tell her and she would repeat it, trying to get the sounds right. Slowly, they began to communicate better. Sarah told Kasa stories from her world. She told him about Ohio, about big cities with tall buildings, about trains that moved faster than horses. Kasa listened with wonder. His people told stories too, but they were different stories. Hearing about Sarah's world opened his mind to new possibilities. Sarah, in turn, learned about Apache life. Kasa showed her how to identify different animal tracks. He taught her which plants were safe to eat. He shared the stories his mother had told him about how the world was created. Nashoda watched these interactions. He found himself drawn into them. He would sit nearby, supposedly working on arrows or repairing tools, but really listening to the quiet conversations between the woman and his son. He began to notice things about Sarah. She was gentle, but not weak. She worked hard without complaint. She showed respect for their ways even though they were strange to her. She asked questions instead of assuming she knew better, and most importantly, she treated Kasa with genuine care. It was not an act. She truly seemed to care about the boy's well-being. One afternoon, Nashoda was teaching Kasa how to properly hold a bow. Sarah was nearby, grinding corn that Ayana had asked her to prepare. Kasa was struggling with the bow. His small hands could not quite manage the grip. "Like this," Nashoda demonstrated again, but Kasa could not replicate it. The boy's face showed frustration. "It is all right to struggle," Sarah said quietly from where she worked. "Learning new things is always hard at first. In my schoolhouse, I used to tell children that mistakes are how we learn. Each mistake shows us what not to do, bringing us closer to what we should do." Kasa looked at her. "Did you make mistakes when you were learning?" "So many mistakes," Sarah said with a small laugh. "When I first tried to bake bread, I forgot to let it rise. The bread came out hard as a rock. My father joked that we could use it to build a house." Kasa giggled. It was a sound Nashoda had not heard in so long. His son was giggling. "Try again," Sarah encouraged. "Remember, each try teaches you something." Kasa tried again. His form was still not perfect, but he looked less frustrated. He kept trying. Nashoda met Sarah's eyes across the space between them. She looked away quickly, returning to her grinding. But in that brief moment, something passed between them. An understanding. A recognition that they were both trying to help this child heal. Sarah woke before dawn on the first day of her testing month. She had barely slept. Her mind raced with worry. How could she learn in 1 month what Apache women learned their entire lives? It seemed impossible. But she had agreed to try, and Sarah Coleman was not someone who gave up easily. Ayanna came to get her as the sun rose. Nashoda's sister had volunteered to be Sarah's teacher. This surprised Sarah. Ayanna had not seemed friendly before, but now there was something different in her eyes. Not quite kindness, but perhaps respect for Sarah's courage in accepting the challenge. "We will start with food preparation," Ayanna said in simple Apache, speaking slowly so Sarah could understand. "This is the foundation of caring for a family." They went to where several women were already working. Sarah recognized some of them. They looked at her with expressions ranging from curiosity to hostility. Halona was there, the woman Casa had rejected. She would not meet Sarah's eyes. Ayanna showed Sarah how to grind corn properly. It looked simple but required specific movements. The grinding stone had to be held at the right angle. Too much pressure and the corn turned to powder too quickly. Too little and it would not break down enough. Sarah tried to copy Ayanna's movements, but her first attempts were clumsy. "Again," Ayanna said. "Watch the rhythm. It is like a heartbeat, steady, consistent." Sarah tried again and again. Her arms began to ache. Sweat formed on her forehead despite the cool morning air. The other women worked effortlessly around her, their movements smooth and practiced. Sarah felt inadequate, but she kept trying. After what felt like hours, Ayanna finally nodded. "Better. Not good yet, but better. Your arms will grow stronger with time." Next, Ayanna showed her how to prepare different types of traditional foods, how to cook meat without burning it, how to make bread in the coals of a fire, how to prepare a cornmeal, which required complex steps to remove the bitter taste. Each task had specific techniques that Sarah had to memorize. By midday, Sarah's hands were blistered and her back ached. But Ayanna did not let her rest long. "Now we work with hide," Ayanna said. They moved to a different area where animal hides were stretched on frames. Ayanna demonstrated how to scrape a hide clean, removing all the flesh and fat. It was hard, physical work that required both strength and precision. Scrape too hard and you would tear the hide. Scrape too soft and you would leave material that would rot. Sarah took the scraping tool. It was made of bone worn smooth from use. She began working on the hide, trying to copy Ayanna's technique. Within minutes, her arms trembled with effort. The tool slipped and scraped across the hide wrong, leaving a gouge. "Ruined," Muna said from nearby, her voice cold. "A waste of good hide." Sarah felt her face burn with shame. "I am sorry," she said in Apache. "I will do better." "Sorry does not restore the hide," Muna replied, but Ayanna stepped forward. "She is learning. We all ruined hides when we were learning. Give her time." For the rest of that day and into the evening, Sarah practiced. She scraped hides until her hands bled. She ground corn until her arms felt like they would fall off. She carried water from the stream so many times she lost count. And through it all, she felt the eyes of the tribe watching her, judging her, waiting for her to fail. That night, she collapsed in the small space they had given her. Every muscle in her body screamed with pain. She wanted to cry, but she was too exhausted. She simply lay there, wondering if she could possibly endure another day like this, let alone a month. A small sound made her open her eyes. Casa stood at the entrance, holding something. He came inside quietly and sat beside her. "I brought you food," he said softly. "Aunt Ayanna said you did not eat today." Sarah struggled to sit up. Casa handed her a bowl with some kind of stew. She ate slowly, each movement of her arms painful. "Thank you," she whispered. "Are you going to give up?" Casa asked. His voice was small and frightened. Sarah looked at the boy's face. She saw hope there, but also fear. He was afraid she would abandon him like death had taken his mother. "No," Sarah said firmly, despite her exhaustion. "I am not going to give up. I promised I would try, and I keep my promises." Casa smiled. It was a small smile, but it gave Sarah more strength than any amount of rest could have provided. The days that followed were brutally hard. Each morning, Ayanna had new tasks for Sarah to learn. She had to identify medicinal plants and learn their uses. She had to practice starting fires without matches, using only friction and dry grass. She had to learn how to track animals by their prints in the dirt. She had to memorize prayers and songs in Apache. Some tasks Sarah learned quickly. Her education and good memory helped with memorizing plant names and their properties, but other tasks defeated her again and again. Her fingers were not nimble enough for the intricate beadwork. Her shoulders were not strong enough for the heavy grinding work. Her sense of direction was poor, and she got lost twice while trying to gather firewood. Each failure brought comments from those who opposed her. "See? She is weak. She will never be one of us." The boy chose wrong. But Sarah kept trying. And slowly, very slowly, she began to improve. Ayana proved to be a strict but fair teacher. She never gave false praise, but when Sarah did something right, she acknowledged it. Good. Better than yesterday. These small words of encouragement kept Sarah going. 2 weeks into the month, something unexpected happened. Sarah was working on scraping a hide, struggling with a particularly tough section. Her hands were covered in old blisters and new ones forming. She had been at it for over an hour with little progress. Helona approached. Sarah tensed, expecting criticism. Helona had avoided her since Casa's choice, but instead of harsh words, Helona knelt beside her. "You are holding the tool wrong," Helona said quietly. "Here, like this." She adjusted Sarah's grip. "And the angle needs to be sharper. See?" Sarah followed the instruction. Suddenly, the work became easier. The hide began to scrape clean more efficiently. "Why are you helping me?" Sarah asked, surprised. Helona was quiet for a moment. "Because you are trying. Truly trying. I thought you would give up within days. I thought you were weak. But you are not weak. You are stubborn." She paused. "I do not like that the boy chose you. It still hurts. But I can see you care for him. That is something." It was not friendship, but it was a step toward acceptance. Sarah felt tears prick her eyes. "Thank you," she said. As the third week began, Sarah noticed more small shifts. Some of the women began offering tips instead of just criticism. When she struggled to remember a particular plant name, someone would quietly remind her. When her fire would not start, a woman would show her a better technique without being asked. Not everyone was softening. Dakota remained hostile. Several warriors shared his view. They made their displeasure clear. But Sarah tried to avoid them and focus on her tasks. Nashota watched all of this from a distance. He saw Sarah's determination. He saw her exhaustion. He saw the way she pushed through pain and failure, and he found himself feeling things he had not expected to feel. One evening, he found himself walking toward where Sarah sat alone, examining her blistered hands. He should not talk to her alone. It would cause gossip, but his feet carried him forward anyway. "Your hands look painful," he said in English. Sarah looked up, startled. They had barely spoken directly since the testing began. "They will heal," she said. "Why are you doing this?" Nashota asked. "Truly, you could have refused. You could have asked to be traded away. Why put yourself through such hardship?" Sarah thought about her answer. "At first I agreed because I was scared. Being a prisoner is frightening. Having a place in the tribe, even a difficult place, seemed better than uncertainty." She paused. "But now it is different. I am doing this for Casa. That boy has suffered. He lost his mother. He is sad all the time. But when he is near me, he smiles. I have not had anyone smile at me like that in years. If I can give him that, if I can help him heal, then these blisters and these aching muscles are worth it." Nashota felt something warm spread through his chest. "He is not the only one healing," he said quietly. "I see changes in myself too. Watching you try so hard, it reminds me that life continues, that new beginnings are possible." Sarah met his eyes. In the fading light, she saw something in his face that made her heart beat faster. This was more than a father grateful for someone caring for his son. This was something else. "I should go," Nashota said quickly, stepping back. "People will talk if they see us alone." He left before Sarah could respond. She sat there, her heart still racing, confused by what had just passed between them. The fourth week arrived. Sarah's final test was approaching. The council would evaluate everything she had learned. But then something happened that changed everything. A rider came racing into camp one afternoon, shouting warnings. "Soldiers! White soldiers coming. They are searching for something." The village erupted into activity. Warriors grabbed weapons. Women gathered children. Everyone prepared for possible conflict. Nashota quickly organized a defense. He sent scouts to see how many soldiers there were and what they wanted. The scouts returned with troubling news. About 20 soldiers. They have a paper with writing. They are searching for white captives. They say they were told a white woman is being held here. All eyes turned to Sarah. The full moon rose over the mountains, casting silver light across the Apache village. Tonight was the night. Tonight Sarah would face the council and demonstrate everything she had learned over the past month. Tonight her fate would be decided. Sarah had not slept. She sat outside in the cool night air, reviewing everything in her mind. Plant names, food preparation techniques, songs and prayers in Apache. Her hands unconsciously went through the motions of grinding corn, scraping hide, starting fires. She had practiced until these movements became part of her muscle memory. But was it enough? As dawn broke, Ayanna came to help Sarah prepare. She brought traditional Apache clothing for Sarah to wear. A dress made of soft deerskin with intricate beadwork. It was beautiful, and Sarah felt tears prick her eyes when she saw it. "This was my sister-in-law's," Ayanna said quietly. "She would want you to wear it today." "Are you sure?" Sarah asked, her voice thick with emotion. "I am sure. You are trying to become a mother to her son. She would approve of someone who tries so hard." Ayanna helped Sarah into the dress. It fit well enough. "Today you will speak in Apache. You will show your skills, and the council will decide if you have truly learned our ways." Sarah nodded. Her heart pounded with nervous energy. As the sun climbed higher, the entire tribe gathered in the central area. It felt like everyone was there. Men, women, children, elders. They formed a circle around the council fire. Liwanu sat in his usual place of honor. The other elders sat beside him. Nashoda sat among them, his face carefully neutral, though Sarah could see tension in his shoulders. Kassa stood near his father, his small hands clenched into fists. He looked terrified. Liwanu raised his hand for silence. "We gather today to judge whether Sarah Coleman has learned enough of our ways to become one of us. She has had 1 month. We will now see the results of her efforts." He gestured to Sarah. "Step forward." Sarah walked to the center of the circle. All eyes watched her. She wore the Apache dress. Her hair was styled in the Apache way, but her skin was still pale, her eyes still blue. She would always look different. The question was whether she could be Apache in her heart and actions. "You will be tested in 4 areas," Liwanu announced. "First, language. You must speak to us in Apache, telling us why you wish to join our people. Second, practical skills. You will demonstrate food preparation, fire starting, and hide working. Third, knowledge. You will identify plants and explain their uses. Fourth, spirit. You must show that you understand and respect our beliefs and traditions." Sarah's mouth felt dry. These were the 4 pillars of Apache life. Language, skill, knowledge, spirit. She had studied them all, but standing here before everyone, she felt unprepared. "Begin with language," Liwanu said. "Tell us in Apache why you wish to join our people." Sarah took a deep breath. She had practiced this speech many times with Ayanna. Now she had to deliver it perfectly. She began to speak in Apache, the words feeling strange and wonderful on her tongue. "I stand before you not as the woman I was, but as the woman I hope to become. I was Sarah Coleman, a teacher from the white world. I was alone. I had no family, no true home. When I was brought here, I was frightened. I was a prisoner in a strange land with strange people." She paused, making sure her pronunciation was correct before continuing. But something unexpected happened. A child saw me, not as an enemy, not as a prisoner. He saw me as someone who could help heal his broken heart. Kassa lost his mother. I understand that pain. I lost my own mother years ago. When I saw his sad eyes, I saw my own sadness reflected back at me. The crowd was quiet, listening. Sarah's Apache was not perfect, but it was clear and sincere. I chose to stay when I could have left. I chose to learn when I could have refused. Why? Because I found something here I did not expect to find. Purpose, belonging, a child who needs me, a people who, despite their anger at my kind, have given me a chance to prove myself. I wish to join you not to escape my old life, but to embrace a new one. I wish to be Apache not in blood, but in heart." She finished and stood quietly, waiting for judgment on her words. Liwanu nodded slowly. "Your Apache is rough but understandable. You speak from the heart. That is good." He gestured to where various items were laid out. "Now show us your practical skills. Prepare a meal using traditional methods." Sarah moved to where corn, dried meat, and other ingredients waited. She also had to start a fire first. using only traditional methods, no matches, no modern tools. Her hands shook slightly as she arranged the materials for fire starting. She placed the dry grass carefully. She positioned the fire stick. Then she began the friction motion, spinning the stick quickly against the baseboard. The crowd watched in silence. It took several minutes. Sarah's arms began to ache. Sweat formed on her forehead. But finally a tiny wisp of smoke appeared, then a small ember. Sarah carefully transferred it to her nest of dry grass and blew gently. The ember caught. Fire bloomed. A few people in the crowd murmured approval. Starting fire this way was not easy. Next, Sarah prepared the meal. She ground corn using the techniques Ayana had taught her. Her movements were not as smooth as an Apache woman who had done this her whole life, but they were competent. She prepared the meat properly, seasoning it with wild herbs. She mixed the cornmeal and cooked it in the fire. While the food cooked, she was asked to demonstrate hide working. She took a prepared hide and began scraping it clean. Her hands moved with more confidence now. The blisters had healed into calluses. Her muscles had grown stronger from weeks of work. Muna watched critically. She was known as the best hide worker in the tribe. After several minutes, she spoke. The work is acceptable. Not expert, but acceptable for someone with only 1 month of training. It was not high praise, but coming from Muna, it meant something. The food finished cooking. Sarah offered it first to Luwanu as tradition demanded. The old leader tasted it carefully. He chewed slowly, his face revealing nothing. The entire tribe waited for his judgment. The food is properly prepared, he finally said. It has good flavor. It would feed a family well. Sarah felt relief wash over her. 1 test passed. Now for knowledge, Luwanu said. He gestured to where various plants had been laid out. Identify these plants and tell us their uses. This was something Sarah had studied intensively. Her good memory served her well here. She moved down the line of plants, naming each one an Apache and explaining its use. This is Osha root. It helps with coughs and sore throats. This is yarrow. It stops bleeding from wounds. This is sage. It is used for purification ceremonies and also helps with digestion. This is yucca. The roots make soap. The flowers can be eaten. This is pine resin. It can seal water containers and help heal wounds. She continued through all 12 plants. When she finished, Shuman, the elder woman who knew plants best, nodded. She knows them well. She has studied hard. 3 tests passed. Only 1 remained. The test of spirit, Luwanu stood. This was clearly the most important test. Knowledge and skills can be taught, he said to the gathered tribe. But spirit cannot be taught. It must be felt. It must be real. Sarah Coleman, do you understand what it means to be Apache? This was the question Sarah had thought about most. How could she, a white woman, truly understand what it meant to be Apache? She had only been with them for a few months. They had lived this way for generations, but she had learned something important. She spoke carefully in Apache. I cannot claim to fully understand. I was not born Apache. I did not grow up with your stories and your struggles. But I have learned this. Being Apache is about more than blood. It is about values. It is about respecting the land and the spirits. It is about loyalty to family and tribe. It is about strength in the face of hardship. It is about honoring the old ways while surviving in a changing world. She paused, searching for the right words. I have learned that Apache people do not give up. You do not bow down to those who try to break you. You survive. You adapt. You protect your own. These are the values I see every day in this village. These are the values I want to teach Kessa. Not because I am trying to become something I am not, but because these values are worth living by. The crowd was very quiet. Sarah continued. I know some of you will never accept me because of my skin. I understand this. Your people have suffered greatly because of mine, but I ask you to judge me not by what I look like, but by what I do, by how I treat Kassa, by how hard I work, by how much I respect your ways. She turned to look directly at Dakota, who sat with his arms crossed, his face hard. I know I cannot change the past. I cannot bring back those you have lost to white violence. But I can promise to honor Apache ways. I can promise to teach Kassa about both his heritage and about forgiveness, about strength and compassion. Is that not what any mother should do? When she finished, there was long silence. Then Luwanu spoke. You have demonstrated skill and knowledge. Your Apache is improving. But the question of spirit, of whether you can truly be one of us, that is for the council to debate. We will discuss this. Wait here. The elders gathered in a tight circle, speaking in low voices. The rest of the tribe waited anxiously. Sarah stood in the center, feeling exposed and vulnerable. Casa looked like he might cry. The debate seemed to last forever. Sarah could see different elders making arguments. Some looked angry,